Hello and welcome to Tencode Easy mobile platform demo. In this demo, I will guide you through the step and usage of the Tencode Studio. Following the installation, you have the Tencode Studio available, which you just click on launch. Tencode Easy mobile platform and Studio is based on Eclipse in this sense, so it's the standard development environment. You can either use the standard Tencode Easy mobile platform Studio, or you can use your own Eclipse installation with additional plugins. Okay. Once the Studio is being loaded, you start by creating a test project. Our projects are basically based on Maven, which is the standard, most common build system today within the Java industry. So you have an entry, which is the standard Maven project. You click on a Maven project, which is how you create it, and following the configuration, which you add the Tencode repository, which is based on a Nexus, which sits on the Tencode cloud. So you have two entries. One is the Android UI automation archetype, and the second one is the iOS UI test archetype. As you can see, this is the latest version, and you can see all the previous versions which are also available. Basically, when we release a new update, you will get the latest and greatest, which you can decide whether you go with it or you stick with the previous version. Update is very easy. I will explain later on how it is done. So for the sake of the demo, I will select the iOS. You click next, and then you just need to provide two entries. One is the com.tencode, this is the group ID, whatever fits your needs, and the artifact, so demo iOS test project. Okay, and then a new project is being created. This is the project. This project is also already contains the full-blown framework of Tencode, along with page objects and the resources. In this case, this is the iOS, so you have the two build versions of the application. One is for the simulator and the other is for the real device. It's the same standard application which you develop with no additional libraries, instrumentation, nothing. This is the plain. Apple forces you to create two versions, one if you would like to install on a simulator and the other on a real device, but they are the same. They are just built to the different target. With Android, this is different. With Android, you only have one APK file which already runs on a simulator, on the emulator on the Android, or on a real device, but this is the standard one. So these are two basic demo applications which Tencode provides and enable you to learn a little bit how to develop test automation. You have this folder, SRC Test Java, which contains two packages. One is the page objects for this expense tracker application, different page objects that describe how the application is being built, the different UI controls, the different methods that you can apply on that. And I will demo that in a second. So this is just demo scenario, which you get the full-blown code, which is a Java code based on a Selenium WebDriver with enhancements, but it's fully 100% compatible with WebDriver. Okay, so this is the entire code. This code is basically based on this simulator application or the real device application. Okay, so once this is ready, you get the full dependencies, all the Maven dependencies of Tencode, the different JUnit compatibility, the Java libraries. It's a full-blown project which you can just go and execute. So let's just start and execute it, this sample. You just right-click on it and execute it as a standard JUnit test. So what will happen now, because the standard is running on a simulator, so it will launch the simulator, as we can see in here. Let me just increase the window a little bit. So it will launch the simulator, it will install the application, and will start executing the scenario as is explained here. Again, this is just an example, so those who do not know how to code it will take a look how you deal with the different text fields, with the different wheels, with the different assertions, checks, etc., etc. Okay, rotation to landscape and portrait. So these are just demo, and you can see this is the code. Okay, each one of it, it's a test case, and you can see input field set value test short text, and this is the assertion to ensure that the real value is being set. As you can see, these are methods, and they are based on page objects which are available to you in this package. Okay, so let's wait for this test to be finished, and once it is there, we can see in here, these are all the test cases and their status. Okay, so we saw that all of that was passed. These are the different ones. You can get the detailed information on that. Okay, so this is an example of how you deal with an example application that we provide, which you can take this code and start modifying, changing, enhancing, refactoring based on your needs. But in case you would like to develop your own test scenarios starting from scratch, what you need to do basically is to put your application, the binary application, not the sources. Put your application within these two folders, the relevant one to the simulator or the real device, and then you select it, you right click and you say Snoop mobile application. What will happen now, again, the simulator will load, it will install the application on the simulator, and it will give you an editor. This is the Snooper editor, the Tencode Snooper editor. Let's load it, put it in here. I will just scale it now to something which will be a little bit smaller. And okay, so I will put it in here, and this is our editor. And what we can see in here basically is a full representation of the application. So the Snooper editor provides you with an outline view, which gives you the structure of your application, all the different elements. It depends on the currently available and visible elements on the screen. It will give you the properties. For example, this is the text field, this is the name, this is the value, it is visible, and this is XXX. This is a palette which you can do, for example, a refresh of the screen, or you can select to do simple swipe or a tap, or you can select to do the rotation. Okay, and another important view, you have the miniature view. So if you are working, for example, within a small screen, like a laptop or something like that, and you do not really see everything, so you can navigate within the application from here. So how do I interact with the application? So for example, this is the text field. What I do, I'll just click it, and then I send some value, for example, Tencode. I click enter or tab moving to the next field. Whatever I type is being sent to the real application. And in addition to that, we have this view, the Snooper Memento, and this is the automatic code which is being generated for you. Okay, so I selected this field, I clicked on it, then I set the value to Tencode. Okay, and now if I select the next field, I set it like demo, then the same thing will happen. Okay, the text is being sent to the application and the line of code is being generated. The same will here. If I hover some control, I get this pop-up which is relevant to the current control. So like I can do a tap or a double tap, or I can do a click. Okay, so it depends on the control. There are some controls like a scroll view, which you can scroll down or scroll up. So I can select it from here, like doing this operation, which will send, you can see in here that it goes. It sends them here, and again, this code is being generated. The same can happen from here. So I have this switch, and again, each control, I have this pop-up menu, which I can do the different elements on that. So for example, on this switch, I can again do the click or the tap. In this sense, click and tap are quite similar, but there are some events, for example, using the keyboard, where there is a difference between a click and a tap. For example, this is the keyboard, and we can see all the keys that are available in here, okay? So I can select to take this R character and just type the R character, okay? This is, I can just click on that. And, okay, let's move forward. So this is a button, which I can select, and I can click it. And then it will do the sign in and move to the next page. Okay, so this is again generated. Everything is being there. Well, it's important to understand that you can just put the simulator aside and forget it, okay, because it's just running in the background. But later on, once the script is being available, you use the same standard code to execute it on a real device or the simulator. You decide, okay? We decided to go and start with the simulator because it's much more easy to develop your code with it. Okay, so let's continue. I will again resize that so we can see how it goes. So again, this is a text field that gets some value. It's a basic expense tracker application just for the sake of the demo. Okay, so you type some strings, some numbers, it's being set there. And again, you can click on each one of the keyboards, of the keys within the keyboard. So for example, if I would like to select the character 2, the number 2, so the 2 will be typed, just one. So you can select and type each one of the keys within the application. It's very important, for example, if you deal with different languages and then you have some umlauts or some German characters or other different characters which are not applying standard and you would like to interact with them. So let me just dismiss the keyboard. I click on done, the keyboard will be dismissed. And for example, I have in here a field which is a wheel control, you see this one. So I'll just click on that and we can see that this var field provides me with this wheel, which I need to take some selection out of it. In terms of development of testing for this control, it's very difficult, but still we provide you with the capability to automate it quite easily. Once it is selected, you just press F2 or you select the value from here and you get all the values that are currently available within this wheel. Okay, it's not really what is visible, but everything which is available in there. You can see this in all those controls. So what you do basically, you select it from the list. For example, I take this debit card and this selection will take place. It will scroll to the debit card and save it for you and set it for you. And we can see in here, this is the control and all the selection. Same goes with the date control. Date is very complex in the sense that it's basically constructed out of three elements. One is the month, the day, and the year. So again, you have this wheel control, which you can select each one of those. Okay, so you can select, for example, December, and then it will change the selection to December. The same will happen to the date, to the day, and the same will go for the year. Okay, so if this is like in here, I can set it to 16 and it will do the change to 16. How you select it with the year? With the year, we decided to do it in a little bit different because like if you take 2000 years back, it will be quite long. Okay, so in here, instead of just going and provide you with a huge list, this is a text field which you can just say, okay, 2011. And again, this will be set for you. Also within the properties view, if I, for example, take this one, we can see in here that you have all the values that are available. They are also visible in here, and you can change the selection from here as well. Okay, so let me dismiss the wheel, and then I will add this expense into the application. So I click the Add Expense button, and you can see in here, this is the pop-up, this is the, you can see in here this was coming and going, so this is the expense tracker successfully stored. And this was coming and going basically. So here it's much easier because with tensed automation to catch something which is visible and then go within a second, we still provide you with that and you can have the assertion. Once you click on that, you get all the different ones. And here we can see this is the static text expense successfully stored. So you can still perform assertions and ensure that this was visible or not visible. Okay. So you see all the different elements that are currently available on your application. Okay, so I will switch the tab into the history, and we can see in the history this was the expense that we have added. This was the previous one which we added, and again it is listed in here, and you have the table view, the table group, the static text, and this is the cell with the different text fields. Okay, the date, the purpose, the expense amount, etc. You have full ability to control that. Okay, so let me just sign out and see what's being happening next. So once this is being signed out, I have this code which I generated. Basically, this is all the recording. One more thing which I didn't mention, throughout the recording, you have the ability to stop a recording and start a recording. Okay, you can stop and continue. So I select all this code, and I would like to generate a test code out of it. So you select it and you click on this create test. So you select the package where you would like it to be exist, and then I say demo bank. This is the name of the class and the name of the method, test demo app. I click finish. So what happened, basically, we get this test class with all the boilerplate code, with all the relevant import. This is your test application, which you can modify later on if you would like. You get all the different before and all the JUnit rules, and you get the test case, which basically is the interaction we did with the application. It is important to note that everything is based on page objects. So for example, a UI control is Tencode UI control element, okay, which is the page objects that describes how this element will be visible. All your application, all the controls that are available within your application, the page objects which will be automatically generated for you. You do not need to create any lines of code, okay? You do not need to develop anything by hand. Everything is being generated for you. Later on, if needed, you can select this test class and the test method, and you can do whatever refactoring you would like to add some comments or change some values, etc., etc. You have full access to that. If you will not within the code, there are zero weight or slips within the code. Most mobile frameworks or test automation frameworks in general, because of some synchronization with the different controls or the application, and something is not visible and wait for it, etc. So they're usually like hard-coded waits within the code. Wait 2 seconds, wait 5 seconds. Here there are zero waits within the code. It is a very clean code. Our framework handles everything for you. Okay, so it's very easy. So once you have this application, let me close the Tencode Snooper editor. I have this code. This is the basic application, which is in here. Let me save it. And I can just go and execute it. You can say this was the one that was added. So I can just click on run as JUnit. And what will happen again, it will launch the simulator in this sense, deploy the application. Yeah, this one is now loaded. Let's now scale it a little bit longer window. And the same scenario which we performed will take place on the simulator. Okay, so now this is the date. You can see the longer it goes, the different switches that we did, the values, the click on the keyboard that we typed specific, the different via and the dates, etc., etc. All the selection, all the code that we did, everything which is like visible in here. This is the scenario. Takes place and happens for you automatically. It will switch to the date, click on the done, switch on the add expense. You can see the expense, you can perform the assertions, and the test is being completed, and you can see that this was taking place. This is the test, how long did it took, etc., etc. So we have developed a test scenario which is quite complex, dealing with complex controls with zero coding. Everything was fully generated for you, but still for advanced coders or those who know how to develop or would like flexibility, you have full access to the code, to the page objects, to the framework, where you can go and change and modify. What we can see in here, we have created the test class, which included the test itself. For example, if you have a test class which is already available and you would like to generate just some test method, a new one, so you record again the scenario, select the code that you would like. So for example, you can select some of it. Okay, so let's just take this one. And then I can create additional test case, test second method. Okay, so a new test method will be generated for you with all the code, and then you can select what you would like to refactor, remove, whatever you want out of it. And this is your scenario. So we have the ability either to generate a test method completely with the test cases, which are the test class. So you have the ability either to generate a test method, or you have the ability to generate a full-blown test class within the methods inside. In the second option, I selected just the method, so it was installed and created within the test class itself. Okay, and again, you can select and go and execute. How you set up what is the target environment. So let me just demo that for you. So this is the Tencode Help portal, and within here you have the running tests and there are environment variables. So you have environment variable for the iOS archetype and for the Android archetype. So if we deal with the iOS archetype, we created an application and then we have an environment variable, iOS simulator, true or false. Okay. So if I would like to execute the same test, which by default goes to the simulator, all you need to do is just set the runtime parameter. This is the run configuration. This is the environment. This is my demo application, the demo class. And I can set iOS simulator false. Okay. And now if I will click run, the same script will be executed to the real device. If I will change it to true, then again, or keep it hidden because this is the default value, then it will go and it will run on the real device or on the simulator. There are different parameters. Let me just do it in here. You have the iOS device UDID. So if you have several devices connected to the machine and you would like to target it to this one, so you have a specific ID for this device. If you would like to select a different SDK, if you would like to change the path of the application, like to take it from some repository which is different, then you can just set the tape. What is the timeout? It's not like you need to insert any weights, and the default timeout is like 60 seconds. You can change it to 90 seconds. So if some control is not visible after 9 seconds, you would like to either stop the test or raise some assertion and an exception, etc., etc. And this is the UI automation timeout. The same goes for the Android SDK. You can select what is the API level you would like to execute on, like on Samsung Galaxy S3 or an S4 or something which is of LG G3, etc., etc., which each one has different API that you would like to execute and check. As I mentioned, we have seamlessly integration, for example, with Jenkins. And you have in here, this is the configuration, how you do it in Jenkins. So basically you create a new job of Maven 2 or 3 type. And then you just specify 2 parameters, like what is the location of your project. This is the POM XML of the project. And then you say clean and test, and it will be executed on this one. So just 2 parameters, and you have a full-blown project integrated and part of your build environment. If you would like to target one specific test class or a test method within the test class, again, just modify and add a different flag, and that's it. Full-blown, the starter thing is being able. The same will go to the command line or working with the rational quality manager, etc., etc. Very easy to plug it in. It's standard. Okay, so this was the project which I did the demo for the iOS. The same go for the Android. So basically, like we did create the project. Let's just save this one. Like we did a project for the iOS, you can create a project for Android. And this is the Android one. I'd select the Android archetype, give it a name, my Android demo tests. Let's close this one, and this is my Android demo test, the full-blown project with all the sources again. This is the package, and you have the test case. This is the demo test that we provide, again with an expense tracker application similar to the one that is available on the iOS. You have the version which is available for the Android with the code that you would like to execute. Now everything is fully available for you. And imagine how much time you can save in the sense that you would like to develop something and it is a very robust code which is standard in the market. Java, Maven, JUnit, Selenium WebDriver, etc. And which you can just go and reuse and make it available and put it into your build chain using the Rational Quality Manager or using Jenkins within your landscape. And this goes very, very well. Again, the same parameters are applied for the Android, and then you can just target the same code. You will see in here the code doesn't say what is your target one, okay? and you just do it with the environment variables. I want now to run on the Android emulator, yes or no. By the way, we support either the standard emulators that comes from Android, which are kind of slow, okay? Or we support also using like Genymotion, for example, which is like treated as a real device basically. And let's do a demo. So let me just put it aside. This is a Genymotion tablet. So now let's execute this test on the Genymotion tablet. Let's put it here in the background. Okay, so what I will do, I will just set the parameter on the run configuration on this specific. This is the one, my Android demo test environment. I will just edit in here. Emulator false, although this is an emulator, but Genymotion is being detected by the machine as a real device. This is how they basically build it. Genymotion is a much faster emulator than the standard Android emulator. So I will set it like here, click run, and hopefully the test will be deployed. The application will be deployed on this application. Yeah, as we can see in here, it will do the interaction, do the rotation, we finalize, and we'll finish that. And once it is done, we see that the test is ready, finished, and we see stopping device manager. This is the packet, and this was like completed. Okay, so this is the case. If I will just do in here, the run is run configuration, and then in the environment I will specify it to true. Then it will run on the emulator, and in this is the emulator of Android. I will click on run. It will basically launch the Android SDK AVD, okay, which you can see this will launch. This is the standard one which I have. It's an XSS with API 16, which is the default that will load, but it is much slower. So it takes a lot of time, like 2 or 3 minutes to boot, and then just to boot and deploy the application. So this is how the Android application, the Android emulator is working. So it is visible, you have the full ability to use it, or a real device, or the Genymotion. So it's full flexibility for you. So this will load, it will deploy it will take some time to be executed. So let me just recap what we have seen, okay? Tencode Easy Mobile platform uses the standard tools within the market, okay? So we have the Tencode Studio, which is based on Eclipse. And you have the full ability to create. Let's just unlock it so we can see how things are going. It is extremely slow. You have the full ability to create a standard project, either iOS or Android projects. You create a project, either use the standard code which we develop, which is an example code, or you can go and use Snooper to record your code, to record your scenario. The code will be automatically generated with zero knowledge in Java or knowledge in coding. The code will be generated, a new test class, test methods, either a new into an existing one will be generated for you. You can go and execute the same code on a real device or an emulator or a simulator. It depends what type of application are you using, etc., etc. Okay, so it is very easy. You have a one-shot installer. Everything is fully documented on our help portal, which you can just access by help.tencode.com. You have the full access to the help portal, how to use the setup guide, the full installation guide, the prerequisite, what needs to be installed. I will guide you through that once we finish our discussion and explain how things are going. And you just get from us a license key, which is either the license key, an evaluation one, or you provided you later on with the license key for your permanent usage. And if you have a new update, basically we release, as I mentioned, every 2 weeks we have a new update. So what you do, you just go to your Eclipse installation, you say help, install new software, you provide the URL which Tencode provides. For example, let's just do it like this one. It's just an update site URL, you select it, and then you have this one. You have this installation, you click on that, you click next, and your installation is fully updated with the latest and greatest. So there are no manual installation or steps, etc., etc. Everything is being downloaded for you from the Tencode Cloud and is fully visible for you. So hopefully I gave a demo which gave you a full understanding of all our capabilities, how easy it is to use, and looking forward for further discussing and see how you take it further. Thank you very much. Have a great day.